the things that I say no to are just as important as the things that I say yes to. Because if I say yes to the wrong things, it takes away time that I could be using for something that's more important. I think Mondays are, to me, a reset day, right? We'll talk more about this kind of systems and the kind of mindsets that can help with this, okay? But in general, Mondays are a reset day for me, right? Let me talk a little bit about that. So let me give you a little bit of perspective of my side, okay? I am a creator / designer, right? The reason I keep using this word creator, like you might be like, dude, what are you talking about exactly? I am talking about the fact that you and I, our job is to create new things. And if we are not creating new things, we will not feel a sense of being productive. Think about how crazy that is. When I was in college, right, this was maybe second year, I distinctly remember feeling this. I would start feeling unease, right? I would start feeling unease कि यहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ तो चल रहा है, मुझे मोटिवेशन की फीलिंग मतलब सस्टेन नहीं हो पा रही, राइट? पढ़ाई भी चल रही है साथ में, लाइक there's a lot of studies going on. And after a lot of conversations, I was a good maybe 2 or 3 years into design, into my design career, after which I realized this. The realization for me was that productivity is not getting tasks done. It's about creating new things. The tasks done part, that's a separate thing. That's prioritization. It's saying what you want to do and what you choose not to do, right? Because in the end, we have limited time. You cannot do everything. A lot of people have a very twisted definition of productivity. They think productivity is doing everything. They think the most productive people are the ones who are doing the most. I'm sorry to break this to you, but the most productive people are the ones who are doing the least. They are the ones who have clarity, not clarity that they were born with, but clarity that is born out of struggle. When you struggle with being productive, with being creative, that's when you really, really want the need for a solution. And the kind of world that we operate in, I very quickly realized that if I go a couple of days or a couple of weeks without creating something, I used to get really depressed. Not depression in the clinical depression kind of way, but I would feel low. I would feel like there is no progress being made. I would feel like I'm in a boat, but it's just swinging. It's not moving forward. And that's when I realized that when you zoom out and think about productivity, right? And when I say zoom out, I mean, let's say at a year level, year 1, year 2, year 3. When you zoom out at that level, the only definition of productivity versus not productive is what have you created? I know so many designers that I've interviewed for Unacademy who've been designers for 3 years, for 4 years, but don't have anything to show for it. As a creator, the expectation is that the longer you stay a creator, whether that's, let's say you're a designer, the longer you stay a designer, the more things you will design, which means your body of work needs to expand. Imagine you're a designer and 5 years later, you're applying maybe for a role, or you're just sitting down and thinking, it's been 5 years. And then you look at your body of work. If your body of work is not significantly different every single year that you are a creator, it might mean you're not making progress, right? And that is productivity at a zoomed out level. Do you have a body of work? If not, you are not producing anything. That is the kind of creativity we are talking about here. Creativity and productivity are sort of twisted together, right? It's not really opposite ends of the spectrum, right? It's not that creativity is sitting on a beach and thinking and just like going deep into the process. It's not like productivity is just like 20-hour days, right? Where you're just sitting in front of spreadsheets in meetings the whole time. They're not opposites. To effectively create, you need to have systems. You cannot, as a creator, rely on luck. Productivity is not a state that you will reach in the future. It is a system that you have to constantly keep feeding, right? And what that means is it means routine. It means discipline. One of the big, let me say, underrated parts of productivity, which is too many people assume productivity means doing everything. You're a productive person if your list is 100% complete. You make a to-do list, you do it, and then it's over, right? That's not what productivity is. Let's talk about to-do lists, okay? Since we're getting a little bit into systems. Productivity is not completing your to-do list 100%. It means, number one, picking what gets to stay in this to-do list. If anything can make its way to your to-do list, the to-do list will keep expanding, and eventually you will run out of time to execute on all of them. When that happens, you then lose motivation because you set something, you said I will do it, and then you don't do it. That reduces your confidence. The way to solve this is actually to start at the top. What is allowed to be in your to-do list and what is not allowed, right? Prioritization is not even deciding that this is important and this is less important. That's definitely one part of it. But it's deciding that, will I even touch this? If everything makes it into your to-do list, it's no longer a to-do list. It's just a general list of tasks that you're just executing on blindly. And that is how procrastination happens, right? What exactly is procrastination? The thing with procrastination is it's not a very conscious thing. You start feeling small whiffs. It's like small annoyances, right? You know in the back of your mind that there is no way you can do 30 tasks, let's say. We're talking about your to-do list. But instead of prioritizing and removing tasks from this, the natural tendency is to start avoiding it. Because your mind knows that there's no way I'm going to be completing all this. But instead of taking the hard step of actually reassessing what should even be on this to-do list, the natural tendency is to start avoiding it. And the longer you avoid, right, since that's the default, the more it starts piling up. And the problem with procrastination is it's a slippery slope. You might think procrastination is, will I do it this week or will I do it next week? Procrastination can mean years. There are people who are procrastinating for years, right? I was one of those people. There are a lot of skills that I knew I needed to pick up. But instead of consciously saying that I will do this at this point in the future, I would avoid it. And avoiding anything doesn't really make it go away, right? It just increases that backlog in your mind of things that you have to eventually come back to. And the more you procrastinate, the more likely you are to procrastinate. It's so complicated. It's so complicated because it's a slippery slope. You get into the momentum of procrastination. It's like Newton's laws, which is you have that inertia. You're making progress, you are more likely to make progress. You're procrastinating, you're more likely to procrastinate. That's your inertia. Lack of motivation to complete what you started. It's one of the most anxiety-inducing feelings to know that there are projects you started, but you are avoiding them. And the solution sometimes, it's so tricky. The solution is sometimes not even to finish the projects. It's to just make a conscious decision that I will not do this project. The more actively you start making progress, the more opportunities you start to see. For me, in my journey right now, the things that I say no to are just as important as the things that I say yes to. Because if I say yes to the wrong things, it takes away time that I could be using for something that's more important. So a lot of times with unfinished projects, sometimes the solution is not really to go back and finish it. It's to realize it was the wrong project in the first place. And that's a very hard pill to swallow. And with productivity, one thing I will say is the reason I'm even talking about this. You might be like, why don't you talk about design? What does this have to do with design? It has everything to do with design. In the end, it does not matter what resources you have. If you are not able to focus on something, how would you make progress? The problem is also that as designers, a lot of us do not have other designers around us. So our models of how to operate are so different. The thing with deadlines, actually, I want to say this. I've done this too. We make the mistake of treating external deadlines as really important, but internal deadlines as not. What do I mean by that? External is a deadline that somebody else puts on you, right? That's a little easier to manage because you're like, yes, that person is holding me accountable. But we are often not serious about our own deadlines. the deadlines that we set for ourselves. And that's what discipline comes down to. You will have more confidence in yourself if you say, this is what I'm going to do, and then you end up doing it. I remember talking to the CEO of, at this point, $1 billion company. And I don't know, I of course, I didn't ask, how do you be productive? It was something like this, but that's the answer I wanted. I felt a little weird asking, how do you stay productive as a CEO of $1 billion company? But I asked her in a roundabout way. And what this person said, he was like, dude, in the end, productivity is making a plan and sticking to it. If you really want to simplify, that's what it comes down to. The reason we have procrastination, the reason we have motivation issues, the reason we have underconfidence is because we make a plan but we don't stick to it. Or we make the wrong plan and then have trouble sticking to it. Think about that one. Because if productivity is that simple, what does that mean for you? I want you to think about that. So Mondays for me, I don't think I finished this point that I started. Mondays are when I reset my productivity cycle. It's when I get back into creating mode. If you're a self-taught designer, freelancer, somebody who works mostly solo, you might be working on weekends because you enjoy it. I cannot say I take weekends or don't take weekends, right? It depends. For me, it's very seasonal. Like there are times in the year where I do not take weekends and I just do 10-day sprints and then 3 days break, 10 days sprint, 3 days break. But right now, I do take weekends. The thing is, it's really important. It's almost like as a designer, you understand the concept of white space. This is actually a great example. When you're designing a screen and you have a bunch of elements and they're just like really close to each other, right? There's no space. The right side, there's no space. Left side, there's no space. Top and bottom, they're like really cramped like this. It makes it harder to really focus on those elements, right? White space is you need that kind of spacing between elements to give each element its due importance, right? You have space around it. If you can understand that concept, think of that applied to your life. When you're in it, absolutely in it, you do not have that time to think and zoom out. A lot of times, you're just focused on execution. But if you only stay in that mode, then you might make the wrong decisions. You might make the wrong priorities, work on the wrong projects. So very important, right? I won't say it's not as simple as take weekends off or don't take weekends off or take a break and don't take a break. You have to decide what's the correct amount of white space needed in my life. Sometimes I can work an entire month without taking any weekends. I'm taking different types of breaks. I'm not taking an entire day off. I'm taking it in a different way. But that's not sustainable for me, right? And I would not suggest that for you. What I would suggest for you is to think about your own situation. A lot of people have this, there's this always ongoing battle on Twitter. I think it recently happened also, where somebody makes a tweet saying, oh bro, if you're not working weekends in your 20s, you're not going to make it. And then the replies are filled with people fighting amongst each other. They're like, no, you need to have weekends. Balance is important. My family, this, that. And on the other hand, you're like, dude, you have to be an entrepreneur. This, that. There's no right answer. You have to do what's right for you. If there is somebody out there who really, really needs to use the weekends to work on their skills, to make a better life for themselves, to take themselves out of the current situation and find a better situation, to create a better life, who are you to tell them to take a break, right? They need to do what's right for them. And you need to do what's right for you. You need to add the required amount of white space to your life, to your schedule, to your process. If somebody says you work weekends and somebody says no, don't work weekends, it doesn't matter. The people who are arguing on Twitter, they're arguing from personal experience. Somebody might have worked weekends and really did something amazing. Somebody, maybe didn't do that. They had their own way. In the end, their story does not apply to you because their life is different from your life. If you need to work weekends, you should absolutely do it. If you need that break to recharge, you should absolutely do it. But you need to have that self-awareness to decide how much white space do I need? How tight or how loose do I need things to be? Super important. If you enjoyed that video, please, of course, let us know. Leave a like and comment. But besides that, this is what we do for a living. We help creatives and designers level up in their careers. If you'd like to join one of our live programs, we do them a few times a year. Check out the link in the description. It's 10kdesigners.com. And I'll see you around.